Hello, and welcome to Meet the Author, a show where we explore the world through the imagination of talented writers. On this show, we will talk with authors from Laurel, Prince George's County, the DMV, and beyond. Today, our guest author is Mrs. Victoria G. Mrs. G describes herself as a spiritual social butterfly. Born and raised in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, she has written her first book centered around her own traumatic life experiences, entitled Lela My Splintered Life. With a background in counseling, communication, hair and skin care with an image consulting certification, she has become a pillar in her community. She wants to help others get through the obstacle of speaking out about painful times in their lives. Hi, Mrs. G. Welcome to the show.
Hello, how are you?
Good to have you.
Thank you.
So I'd like to find out how people find out about the Meet the Author show. So how did you hear about this?
Well, I was looking online for free publicity. As I said, I'm an image consultant. I know there's some free publicity to work with, people will work with you through their gazettes and stuff like that. And I reached out to Beltsville News, and then I thought to reach out to the city that was right next to me, or the city I was in, which was Laurel. I sent out an email to Audrey Barnes after I looked you guys up. Audrey Barnes sent me some information back and then told me to check with you. If you like what I had to say, then you would talk to me.
Okay.
And that's where we went with that one.
And here we are.
And here we are. Thank you.
So since then, we've been in contact for a while, and you've been sharing with me some of the events that you have going on.
That's correct.
So let's talk about a couple of those. You've had a book signing
Yes.
and reading event.
Yes, I
Want to
did.
share about that a little bit?
Sure. The book signing, we had book signing and question and answer. We had that on April 20th. It was a good turnout. It wasn't really crowded, but it was a great turnout. And we got to read I got to read a story and get questions and answer questions.
Okay.
So that was a tremendous day.
Okay. Something new for you? Had you done
Something
it
new
before?
for me. I've
Okay.
never did it before. This is actually my first book.
Okay.
And then we had another event, which was Stand Up Against Child Abuse, and
Right.
that turnout was really great.
So that was a more discussion about the actual issue. So tell us about
Yes,
that.
we had BACA. BACA stands for Bikers Against Child Abuse. They were there. We had Lieutenant Upo. He was there from the Maryland State Troopers to talk to everyone about being raped or anything around that area.
Right, serious issues.
Yes,
You were
we
able
had
to,
music there. It was a great turnout.
Okay.
It was a great turnout.
Now, was that question and answer also, or was that more of a
That was more
speaker?
of them speaking
Okay.
about what goes on around the area, and if you see something, say something,
Right.
type thing.
So that's good for this time,
It's
for this
great.
area,
Yes.
and for the topic. So glad
Yes.
that you were able to have that event.
Yes, it was great. I'm looking forward to another one.
Okay, good. So you'll definitely let us know.
I would definitely
Anything
let you
comes
know.
up.
Yes.
So speaking about the child abuse, so that's the topic of your book.
Yes.
And like we mentioned, the title of your book is Lela My Splintered Life.
That's
And it's
correct.
an autobiography about your life.
Yes.
Now, of course, your name isn't Lela, so we know
Right.
this not directly. So tell us how much of the book is based on your life, like a percentage or just different things?
100% of the book, Lela My Splintered Life, is about me.
Okay.
I wanted to put my whole story out there, unedited, of course. So 100%
Okay.
is about myself.
Okay. So we want to talk more about the book.
Okay.
We're going to give it all away so people will have something to
That's
look forward
right.
to and read.
That's right.
But just want to talk about, the substance of the book, what it's
Okay.
about. So it talks about you being from Washington, D.C.
Correct.
And so as I went through it, I almost thought of the Bible as you go through looking at different
Okay.
who begat who. So you had a lot of
Okay.
siblings in the
Yes.
book. Now, if I'm right, it was about 9.
Actually, my mom had 11 of us.
Okay.
But we lost 2.
Okay.
So there is 9 left.
Okay.
Yes.
So with that, how did that help or hurt you throughout your childhood, having that many siblings and people around? Did that help the situation or make it more difficult? Explain that to us a little bit.
Let me say this first. My mom was like an incredibly beautiful woman. And she has this amazing heart. And with all these siblings, it's a great thing to have a lot of siblings.
Okay.
At the same time, the hard part for me was being a child and thinking that my siblings had left me. That was very hard for me. But as I grew up and realized it wasn't just that, I felt much better, much relieved knowing that they didn't really leave me like I thought they'd leave me. When you're a child, you just think all kinds of thoughts.
Right.
And you're reaching out for people who aren't there, but they're there. So my siblings, we're a very tight-knit family. And my mother, her heart is just like, it's overwhelming for everybody. She just has this heart for everybody. And I love her dearly. And I used to blame my mom
Right.
because I was hurting and didn't get help, but it wasn't her fault. And I realized that as an adult now.
Okay.
But having siblings is a wonderful thing,
Right.
especially when you're tight-knit.
Okay. Well, that's good that you had that support there in your home.
Yes.
Despite, like you said, not knowing
They were in
when
and
you're
out,
younger.
but yes.
Right. Okay. Now we're going to talk about some of the trauma that you experienced
Okay.
through your childhood. So, like we mentioned, the book is talking about, you know, sexual abuse.
Yes.
Well, let's go through some different things.
Okay.
So we met in the book. You mentioned the sexual abuse, how you had to leave home.
Yes.
'Cause it was so bad. That abuse in your home led you to other abusive situations.
That's correct.
You had a child at a young age.
Yes.
And then you dropped out of high school.
Yes.
And you had another baby.
Yes.
So just briefly, like I said, not go into any detail because we
Okay.
do want people to pick up your book. Just
Right.
kind of talk to us about your childhood and how that worked out for you.
Okay, I was a child, let me say this. I was a child who I felt was being left behind, like left alone. And when you're left alone and you got, like a lot of people knew my family or knew my mom. And when you're leaving your kids around certain people, things happen.
Right.
But as a child, you don't know how to help yourself. So I ran away 2 or 3 times because of what was going on there. But then when I got out there, the same thing was happening because I was underage and I was too young to deal with the reality of what was going on. And then I came back and then I left again. Dropped out of school. I got pregnant at a very early age and I didn't know what that meant.
Right.
I didn't know what was happening until the doctor told us, but I didn't know. And before I knew it, I was running again and pregnant again.
A cycle.
A cycle.
To go through. Mm-hmm.
It's a cycle some girls go through, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
Right.
If
Okay.
I had the chance, I wouldn't have had kids at that age.
Right. But we have to do what we have to do.
We have to do what we have to do. That's
Right.
correct.
Okay. So, speaking of your traumatic childhood, one of the things that stood out to me in the book was this eerie image of the shadow. So, explain how that came about and kind of what the shadow means to you. I don't know if it was supposed to
Okay.
reference a person, like I said, I don't want to give too much away, but
Right.
just explain why you wrote it that way
Right.
and what that means to you.
Well, when I was a little girl, I actually thought I saw monsters, and for a better word, I decided to use the word shadow. The shadow, it's just like a regular shadow. It was haunting and tormenting me. And as a child, you don't know what to do. You're running, or you got to do what you got to do. But the shadow, for me, it means pain. It means death even. It means something's bad going to happen. And I didn't know which way to go, which way to turn. It stripped everything from me. I was lost, and I just want women, men, whoever is going through what this book, when you read this book, what it tells you, I do not want nobody to go through that.
Right.
And for me, it's painful. It's very painful. I'm just learning to deal with it after so many years of keeping it inside. It's trauma to me.
Right. And
That's what the shadow means to me.
And I felt that in the book. Like I said, it's interesting that you said you didn't use the word monster because
Right.
that gives like a fictional image
Right.
maybe, but the shadow, you see
Yes.
the darkness and
It's
you
the
understand
darkness.
like you don't know exactly,
Right.
but it's something that's there and dark.
Yes.
So that's
I think they need to read the book. I'm not going to say anything else about
Right.
the shadow, but definitely it's not a good thing.
Right. Okay. Something else that stood out to me is the cover design of your book. So if you like, just explain that a little bit, because if you look closely enough, you see things in the eyes.
Yes.
And so explain how you came about with the picture of the
Okay.
design.
Deep inside, all the pain, all the hurt, the disappointment, the frightness, I wanted it to show in this picture. I wanted the shadow, I wanted to see, the people to see what I saw. I wanted them to feel what I felt. So when I found this person to do it just the way I wanted, this is how this picture came about. This little girl, she's frightened, she's watching a shadow, she's crying, she's scrunching under her bed for this because of the shadow. And I wanted all that to be captured in this image.
Okay. Yeah, and I see the tears, and like you said, her holding on to the bed, like her hands.
Because she's very frightened.
So it definitely did a good job of capturing that.
I think it's amazing. I couldn't believe it after they finished it. I'm just like, it's amazing.
Right. So
But I wanted every piece of hurt and pain to be captured into this one picture.
Now, where did the name Lela come from? Did you?
I always liked the name Lela.
Okay.
And it just stuck with me. Because I know Lela is like a innocent name. It's an innocent child name. And it just always stuck with me.
Okay.
And I just decided to use it.
Say what better way, huh?
That's right.
For yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
So we mentioned, you know, that the book is kind of traumatic and it deals with a dark subject. So who would you say your target audience would be?
My target audience would be anyone from 18, women, men, 18 and over, women, men, boys and girls who have been through any type of abuse. Like, to me, abuse is abuse. And there's some harsher than others.
Right.
And I think that the most harshest abuse could be the mental abuse, because I've been left mentally demolished. I would target that type of crowd who's been through anything like that.
Now, what about family members or friends who know of someone who's been abused? Maybe they can read it and it will shed some light on what the person has been going through.
It would. My family is working on, letting people know or letting me know if they know someone of that who's been through something like that, as traumatic as this. In between all the pain and the hurt and the scary and the story, there was sometimes I felt okay.
Okay.
But to have this pain and carry it for more than 30-something, 40 years, and finally be able to come about talking about it. I mean, I tried when I was in my 20s, and I couldn't bring it out. So I took the easier way out. But I would target those type of audience, that type of audience.
Okay. Now, have you had any type of therapy or anything to deal with the issues that you've been through?
I am. I started trying to do therapy in my 20s, as I said, and I just couldn't bring it out. And people were talking, and I tried. I could not do it. It was too much. So instead of me doing that, I took the easy road by trying to take myself away from here. And at some point, things were happening at home, and I just kept running. I was always a runner. But no one asked or stopped to question me about why was I running. Right. But just recently, the hashtag #MeToo movement started coming out right about the time I started trying to seek help again. Okay. And I've been in therapy for another, like a year and a half, almost 2 years now. And then I noticed the #MeToo movement was coming out, and I was feeling better about myself and talking about it.
You can relate to?
I can relate to, and I couldn't believe it. Because for years I thought it was just me.
Right.
Just me.
I can imagine, especially starting it as a child, so you feel like...
Yes, and the hardest thing for me is lying down at night to try to go to sleep, because even until this day, I still feel like the shadow's coming to get me.
Right.
So it's really hard. It's something I have to deal with, but I'm learning to maybe not lock the door so much at night.
Okay.
So many times.
So with therapy, you're learning how to, cope a little bit better.
Exactly.
So after reading this book, what would you like the readers to take away? You're learning how to cope, and you're expressed yourself in your book. You shared the things that you've gone through. But what would you like people to take away after reading this book? Okay,
so if I was a person out there and read this book, I would want to, when I leave, I would want to make sure that I'm watching my child, and you can't watch your child 24/7. Right. You just can't. I want them to understand what it's like and what type of life that could lead you down that wrong path after being stripped of all you have. If you're being stripped of every piece of security, innocence as a child, it stays with you, and I want them to be able to get help right away. Right. Because I didn't do that. Like, I tried, but I didn't do that. So it took me down the wrong path as well, because you don't care about yourself. You don't care about who care about you. You're just looking for a way out.
Right.
So
'Cause
that's
you're
what
just
I
a
would
child,
want
so
them
you
to.
don't know.
Exactly. You're a lost child.
Right.
So that's what I would want my readers to take with them.
Okay. So make sure we, get that out there. That
Yes.
Get help.
Yes,
We'll
get
start with
help.
that.
That's the that's a good way of putting it.
Okay.
Seek the help that you need.
Well, I'm glad you are working towards, getting the help that you need. Like I said, it's been some time, but it's never too late to heal,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's never too
definitely.
late. So I just want to talk about kind of the book process itself, because
Okay.
I know it's difficult writing a book and getting published, and there are many different options out there. So how did you decide to publish your book? Did you self-publish? Did you use a company? How did that work out for you?
Well, as I said, I've been going to therapy, and when you go to therapy every day, 3 days a week, you're talking about your traumas. And for months, I couldn't bring it out. And then when I finally started bringing pieces out, I would go home after therapy, and I would get a piece of paper. In my mind, I would be so angry, and I write out
Right.
what's going on. And I wrote and wrote and wrote, and before I knew it, I had this big stack of papers all over my bedroom floor.
Okay.
And I put it all together, like stack it together. And then when you're online and you're looking up something, and then later you're looking at something else, that thing that you were looking at pops back up, right? So I was looking at publishing companies, just curious. And I sent the manuscript to a couple people, and they sent it back, and they wanted to work with me. And I just didn't want to go with the type of, first of all, I didn't want to go with the type of contract that they had.
Right.
And I felt, since I've written this far, wow, I can do this. And for me, that's a big step, because I wasn't able to talk about it. So now to try to write it on paper, so I decided to just try to do it myself, self-publish.
Okay.
And before I knew it, it was there, and I couldn't believe it. And I still can't believe it,
Right.
that I did that.
Good job.
Yeah.
Especially, working with, writing, but then the cover art too. Like, I don't know if people realize, like, it takes a little bit of work. It may look easy, but, it takes a little bit of work to get that stuff done.
Now, this cover art was this particular picture. I asked a guy from church, older guy. He's very good. He draws around the church. And I told him what I wanted. And he had this. And I say, you caught exact, because I put the tears and everything and tried to draw. I'm not an artist, but
Right,
he
right.
is. Trevor Campbell, it's art illustrators. Yeah,
Okay.
he drew this. And I'm just like blown away, because he captured every piece of me.
Right. So it's good to see everything coming together.
Yes.
Like the words and the picture.
Exactly.
It makes for a good product.
And I do want to say one thing. As I said before, this book is uncut. And I do plan to, I'm actually working on getting it, not getting it edited, but editing it a little bit, to put the edited version out there.
Okay.
But I definitely, when my brother first read it, he was like, that doesn't sound like you. You don't use words like that. I say, but it was in my head at
Okay.
therapy, so
So it came
and
out,
I can't
huh?
bring those words out my mouth. But yes,
Right.
I definitely want to edit it, kind of. But some
And I can
people
imagine
say
that could
some
help
people
more
says,
with your therapy.
Yes.
Going through it again, kind of fine-tuning it. That
And
could
that's
be
what I would
part
like
of the
to do.
process. Okay.
that's what I would like to do.
So, like, you plan on editing this book. Do you plan on writing any other books? Maybe, I don't know, I wouldn't say any other traumatic experiences, but anything else in your life, or any fictional books, or anything
Right.
else you want to write about?
Well, I do have a book I already started. I have 7 chapters to a sequel to this book.
Okay.
It's not going to be as traumatic for me,
Right.
but there are going to be things happening. I mean, really, really happening.
Okay.
And they don't want to miss it. So I
Cool.
have 7 chapters already written.
Okay.
I'm just kind of taking my time, and I'm not going to give a time limit. I'm just going to do it and get it out there.
And then you'll come back to see us and let
I
us know. when-
definitely will. I sure will.
Good, good.
Definitely.
So, if you'd like to share your contact information where we can reach you and maybe get your book so people can find out what we're talking about.
Sure. Victoria G is my name. My number is 202-904-0343. You can get this book on Amazon.com/author/Victoria G. It'll take you right into my book.
Okay. Good. So, we'll have folks looking for
I'm
that.
sorry. And I have an email, which is hintrrig@gmail.com. You can also email me.
And when you contact her, let her know you got her from Meet the Author.
Definitely.
Okay. Now, like we mentioned in the opening, you're a pillar in the community. You have different things going on. Would you like to share with us some of the things you may have going on in the community right now?
Sure. I've reached out to Laurel to do an event.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I would like to do it by February. Do an event. I'm still working on what I want to call it, the title. Also, I'm working with a young lady who works for Waco Bra Company. They work with cancer patients, and we're going to put together something to work with the book and bras.
Okay.
That's what I'm working on.
Now, the event, Laurel, is there a topic or some things
Well,
you
I haven't come up with a topic yet, what I want to call the event, but it's definitely going to be something geared towards helping children.
Okay. Like a discussion, or you haven't worked all that out yet? Or?
I haven't really worked it out yet, but
Okay.
no, not like a discussion, just like a awareness type thing.
Okay.
A awareness event.
So yeah, keep
And
us
I
in the
want,
loop.
yes, I'm going to be reaching out to you guys real soon because I did, and I just got to find a venue
Right.
and putting it all together.
Okay. 'Cause, yeah, we definitely love to support your cause. Like you
you.
said, bring awareness to things that people may not want to talk about, but
Right.
want to help them to
Right.
share.
Right.
Because we don't want to keep it bottled in.
Right.
We don't want to go years with dealing with this when you can
Right.
get the help soon, as like you mentioned before.
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
So, was there anything else you want to share?
Let's see. I would like to focus a lot of attention to a couple chapters, and
Okay.
one is 7, Scorn Child Scorn, and the next one is chapter 8, Young and Innocent. And when you read that, I want you to think about, or want viewers to think about, put themselves in that situation, and then you would know, for me, you would know which way to turn to not run the wrong way as you get older. Or you can watch a kid, if you see something, say something, it can be done, and you can get, on with your life after being stripped of everything.
Right.
So those are 2 chapters. It just cuts me down. And when you don't have your father in your life, it's like all kids need their dad, but females definitely need their dad. And I didn't have my dad around.
Right.
So it was really hard. And you're looking for your dad out there in the street, like through these guys that you're dating, and it's not that. You can't do that.
You try to fill that void.
Definitely.
And they don't do it.
They cannot
don't
fill
do
the
it.
void. Just get you in another situation. But that's it.
Okay. Well, I definitely want to thank you for being here.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for being so open and sharing.
you.
No,
Yeah.
like I said, it took us a while to get together, but I'm glad we were able to, come. You were able to come out on the show
Right.
and share.
Yes.
Because, like I said, it's an issue.
It's
and we
an
don't
issue.
want
It's definitely
to
an issue.
put it in the closet, keep it in darkness. We want to
Yes.
bring light to it,
Yes.
so we can bring awareness and help people.
That's definitely true.
All right.
Thank you.
So thank you.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right.
All right, we'll be right back. Lela, My Splintered Life is a book about a child who had to endure abuse throughout her childhood. A child who constantly lived in fear, had to rear herself, and then turn around and attempt to do the same thing for her children. At a young age with limited help, knowledge, and resources, Lela eventually perseveres and shows that despite being faced with insurmountable odds, you can live a productive life and make a difference for others. Please be advised that this book is definitely suited for adult audiences, as it contains mature content, scenes, and language. I would like to thank Mrs. G for joining me today. You know, it's hard enough growing up in today's world, but she is living proof that having to fight your way through childhood without protection and security that children are given makes it even more difficult. But she reminds us to not let a splintered childhood dictate the path for your future. If you are an author and would like to be featured on our program, you can send an email to cmjohnson@laurel.md.us or call 301-725-5300, extension 2110. We would love to have you on the show. I'm Christine Johnson, reminding you to open a book and let it take you on your next adventure.